Do you really need a Murshid to become closer to Allah? Or can a Muslim purify their heart without following a spiritual guide? Imam al-Ghazali addressed this very question. In this lesson, we'll examine both sides of the argument and explore why many scholars considered a qualified Murshid beneficial for spiritual growth.
So another question was about the need of a mystic master, spiritual master, the Murshid. They call it Murshid. So is there any necessity, for the Murshid or not? There is a statement. They made a statement and they asked you, to what extent do you agree? Yeah, the statement is that the Murshid and all these Sufi orders, they are compulsory for attaining closeness to Allah in the modern world or not. So to what extent do you agree? Yeah, to what extent do you agree? So if you so we have options. One option is that there is no need for them. Yeah, so all together there's no need. We can reflect and we can do the remembrance on our own. And there is an opinion that we can seek the master, the Sufi master also, and we just consider him as a teacher, yeah, a trainer, a guide, Sufi guide in mysticism. So but seeking this guide, it is not compulsory. It is just a recommended thing. It is just a thing that is beneficial. And in argument for the necessity, so here could be two opinions, majorly, mainly. So first opinion is that yes, it is necessary. Ghazali also, he emphasized that importance of following a qualified Sufi master, Murshid is called Murshid, to guide spiritual development, it is crucial, it is important. Just like, you compare it with the guide to a leader who direct a traveler along a difficult path. So if somebody is on a journey, and he is going through a path which is alien to him, which is he is not familiar with this, he never have gone through this path. So, and this path is maybe it is rugged, it is mountainous, and he don't know the direction. So here he needs a a guide. He needs a guide who can lead him through this a difficult path. So same applies here. Imam Ghazali says same applies here. This purification of heart, it is not riffraff, it is not easy thing. So it is complicated. Sometimes we don't understand that we are arrogant. It is double whammy. It is irony of the irony that we did not realize that we are committing the Riya. So here the Murshid, he points out, he highlight that this gesture, it is a sign of Riya. So there is Riya. You are afflicted with that. So a lot of the time it happens. And sometimes our concepts, our outlook towards things, they are diverted, and if we don't know that. So here a Murshid or the teacher, he is required to guide us. Yeah, the Sufi, the mystic orders, yani salasil, yeah, tariqa, and the master, yeah, Murshid, it is also important. So what are the arguments and evidences, yeah, for presented by them? So we can say that supporters of this view, they argue that the Murshid plays a vital role, yeah, in guiding the murid through spiritual development. Yeah, so his role is vital, just as a teacher. So they compare it with a teacher who is required for correct understanding of the religious knowledge. Yeah, so if you wanted to learn the knowledge, so you need at least a teacher who explain this to you. You cannot self-read, you cannot learn the things on your own. All the time there must be a need for a teacher. Yeah, so Sufi argue that the spiritual purification, it also requires supervision. Yeah, it also requires supervision. It is not something ordinary. It is not something very easy and convenient to do by yourself. You all the time needs a guide, a trainer. Yeah, so what he do, the Murshid, he provides structured guidance in practices such as zikr, muraqabah, and self-discipline. So he helped the disciple avoid spiritual arrogance or deviation. So there is very likelihood, for deviation, in spiritual paths. So that's why there are, some mubtadi'ah out there, in Sufism. So in a modern world characterized by materialism and distraction, so that is their argument. So they says that the modern world, it is characterized, its nature is materialistic. So materialism is prevailing in all approaches. Also distraction, a lot of things to do, so there is no concentration to the God. So a lot of distraction is there. So materialism and distraction, they are the needs. they necessitates, the Sufi tariqa, the specific time forms of, the muraqaba and the zikr. They necessitates that, according to them. This guidance is seen as, particularly important. Yeah. And what are the tariqas? Tariqas or salasil in Arabic. Tariqa is also a, Arabic term. So tariqa offer an organized framework for spiritual growth. So it is a framework. Yeah, silsila. It is a, so Naqshbandi, they have their own framework. So Chishti, they have their own, organized, framework. So it is not something, random or, chaotic in nature. It is very structured also. So through regular and consistent zikr and communal worship and moral accountability, Sufi order help believers, the disciple, remain focused on Allah. Yeah, they teach you how to concentrate. They teach you. Yeah. Even the secular psychiatrists, they also teach us, how to make the concentration, how to develop concentration. Yeah. So there is telepathy and there is hypnotisms, all the things, but their focus is on mind. Yeah. The modern psychiatrists, what they do, they concentrate on your mind. But in mysticism, the Sufi master, he, focus on the heart. Mind is secondary according to them. Mind works, it operates, under the patronage of heart. Actually, heart is the one who reasons. Yeah. So this is that work on heart. Work hard on your heart. So Sufi orders help believers remain focused on Allah. So classical, that is a necessity. Yeah. This is how they made, argument. And they established their claim that there is necessity, there is materialism, there is distraction. So how to concentrate? So there is a guide needed for that, and there is a structured, well-structured framework. It is also required there. So here, Imam Ghazali, he supported this approach. Yeah. And arguing that following a qualified spiritual guide, it helps integrate, following a qualified spiritual guide. Qualified. Yeah, he must have enough sufficient knowledge, of Sharia in first place. The Sharia knowledge, the Sunnah knowledge, the first knowledge, not extensive knowledge that a scholar, possess. Not that much knowledge. Only obligatory, the faraid, he should know that, and Sunnah, that relates to the daily life, day-to-day life. Yeah, so he should be knowledgeable, and he is expert of, the spirituality. So he should be trained in this field. Yeah. So if he is a qualified spiritual guide, he helps integrate Sharia, ethics, and inner spirituality. So he can perform this integration, properly and adequately. From this perspective, Murshid and Tariqas, both, they are not optional extras. They are not optional extras, but practical necessities for sustaining faith in contemporary society. Yeah, they are important. They are required. They are not just an option that if you are willing, then just choose a teacher. No, if you are in desperate need for, for concentration, and you are living in a world, if you are immersed in a world which is, from top to bottom, from head to over hills, it is, materialism. So here the first priority should be your, to seek a guide that, teach you how to, tackle with these things. So that is their argument, on the necessity of Murshid and Tariqa.
To continue this journey, click the link to join our community. And don't forget to subscribe for more episodes.